Breaking news! What's going on, everyone? It's Dominic, the Primetime Treasure Hunter, your trusted reselling reporter here to bring you some exciting breaking news that eBay is not dead. That's right, not only is it not dead, it's not even dying. Now, it's alive and well, but weaker than it used to be. It's a more competitive marketplace. Gross merchandising volume is down. It still has plenty of things it needs to work on as a marketplace, but there's still plenty of ways to be successful. And so let's go over to the sidelines and look at some recent success stories. Always wanted to do that. Anyway, it really is. It really is a place where you could find a lot of success. Let me show you a couple of examples. Craigslist Hunter, who I've had on my channel several times, including once just a few weeks ago. So if you haven't seen my interviews with Pete, the Craigslist Hunter, make sure you go over to those interviews and his channel to check it out. I have it right on the sidebar as one of my favorite channels to watch. And Pete is very successful. I showed a video over the summertime in which I went over to his store in Chicago and just showed you his operations and everything there. As you can see here from Pete's latest video, he made $62,000 on eBay. Now, yes, that's gross sales. I've talked about this with him before, so his net on that is going to be 50%. And yes, Pete does have some employees, but thing to remember is this is not a massive operation. It's not like Pete is running a Home Depot or a Lowe's. He has one main person, Vicky, who does the bulk of his listings. And Pete really splits the shipping duties with Adrian and one other employee. One of his employees is at the cash register. And Pete's really the main person who is making the purchases. He's going out. He's, doing the same kind of sourcing that you and I could go do. And he is also, now one advantage, he does have the storefront so people could bring stuff to him. But let me show you some examples that don't involve anyone who has employees or has like a storefront or something like that. So here's someone I love to follow over on Instagram. This is an Instagram account here, Osborne to Thrift. This is one individual who is doing this, and he is just crushing it. Young guy, he does all this at thrift stores. So he is right here, paid $20, sold for $175. And this is all within a few days. Paid $20, sold for $170. Paid for $15, sold for $150. Paid $15, sold $125. Paid $15, sold $100. Paid $3, sold for $72. Paid $10, sold for $60. Paid $8, sold for $58. OGC, who I've had on this channel in the past as well. He is just crushing it. He's really continued to grow. I should have him back again to get an update on him, but he's really blossomed. It's just amazing. Last time I checked, and he's probably done more than this, but last time I checked, he was at over $20,000 in gross sales on eBay in 60 days. This is just this past weekend. 38 packages went out. He's doing it by himself. No help, no employees. Same thing with Osborne to Thrift. And his profit margins are similar to Osborne to Thrifts. Nurse Flipper, who I've had on recently, same situation. Here you go. There's a 90-day total, $21,000. Yes, again, that's gross. But again, these are all people I know and trust. These are people who are doing very well. They have high profit margins in their reselling business. So you always have to stop and ask yourself, if there are people out there who are succeeding like this and you are not, why is that? It can't be that it's just eBay, because if it was just eBay, if that was the only factor, then these types of stories would not happen. Just wouldn't. Now, again, does this mean that eBay is blameless? Does this mean that eBay doesn't have things to work on and improve on as a marketplace, as a business? Absolutely, it does have those things to work on. So it doesn't mean that there's not things there. Those are, though, external factors that you don't have a lot of control on beyond providing input to them, as a customer of eBay, as someone who uses the platform, and try to encourage them to make the improvements that you want. But you can't dwell on that stuff. You can't overly focus on it, because if you do that and you start just dwelling on that eBay's dead, that eBay's dying, that there's all these things outside of your control, in psychology, we call that an external locus of control. You're going to feel helpless. you're going to feel powerless to do anything. And what's going to eventually happen is you're either going to quit eBay totally, or you're going to just quit selling online. And most people who are successful in reselling have eBay as some component of their online business. Now, of course, there's exceptions to that. There's people who just do Poshmark and kill it. There's people who just do Amazon FBA. So I'm not saying you can't succeed without eBay, but the vast majority of people who are successful in reselling have eBay as some part of their online marketplace distribution center where they are making sales. So you've got to figure out a way to make eBay successful for you. You've got to be in this camp, not the camp that is just continually blaming external forces. You've got to find a way to regain control of the situation and have what is called in psychology an internal locus of control. You've got to find a way to get that control back. So you've got to focus on the things that you can control. And I have tried to do this in terms of helping other resellers by doing some store reviews. And I did a store review of a Poshmark store where I showed a lot of things that somebody was doing right. That was the review of Garment Broker's page on Poshmark. But I've recently done some where I'm trying to give people some tips and some suggestions. So you could go back at some of those prior videos and check this out. Now, as many of you know, I run a reselling group. It's called the Facebook Reselling Resource Center. The link's down below in the description section if you'd like to check it out and come and join if you're not a member yet. We have about 16,000 members. It's coming close to that. And every week there are people who say that eBay's dead or that eBay's dying, or just, saying over and over, they're just frustrated beyond belief because they just can't seem to make sales. And, then what happens is that person inevitably, reaches out, because it's like the saying, misery loves company. Hey, is anyone else having slow sales? And then someone else comes along and says, yeah, I'm having slow sales too. And another person says, yeah, I'm having slow sales too. And then before you know it, it starts to snowball psychologically. And then the person starts to think, well, hey, it's not just me. That person's having slow sales. That person's having slow sales. So it can't be really me. It has to be, eBay's fault. So again, that's really not the case. And I want to show you examples of things that you can do through these store reviews to help your business out. So recently I put out a challenge and I said, if anyone thinks eBay's dead, if anyone thinks eBay's dying, or maybe the person doesn't go to that extreme and just maybe the person just says, you know what, my sales are really slow and I feel like I've done everything in my control to fix this, yet they're still slow. I said, I challenge you to send me the link to your eBay store and give me permission to show it on the channel and give me permission to use your first name. And I'm going to go through your store. I'm going to put a fresh set of eyes on it for free. I'm not going to charge anything. There's plenty of people who charge for store reviews. And I'm just going to do a review. Now, I'm not going to go through every single nook and cranny of it. I'm just going to go through some of the basics and most glaring things that I see that can help you out. So the first person who responded to this was Jamie. And so I'm going to show Jamie's store in a moment. I'm going to put a link to it down below in the description section if you'd like to check it out. And for everyone who emailed me about their store before I threw out this challenge, I'm going to get to your store. For those of you who emailed me after Jamie, I'm going to get to your store as well. But I want to get to the people who answered the challenge and the people who responded before. So I'm kind of juggling back and forth a little bit. So before I get into Jamie's store, let me just show you an example of just from my own situation of how eBay's not dead. I mean, my sales have not been stale. They have been actually pretty steady. So here's an example. Just before I was about to come on, I got this offer that came in for this backing board. And I've shown these before on my channel, these backing boards. These are backing boards for the original Star Wars figures. There were 12 of them that came out in 1977. And this partly gets into how you have to be creative with sourcing and not just rely on garage sales and publicly posted estate sales and flea markets. Don't get me wrong, I go to those places, but you also have to think outside the box. That's what Craigslist Hunter does, and a lot of people who are successful is you have to be creative with your sourcing. And so I did a video recently, you could go check it out, in which I talked about how you could put ads up to source for things on Craigslist. And someone responded to one of my ads that was about collectibles and comics, because there were comics and collectibles in the house. But also the same person responded to my ad about estate sales. And so I contacted the person back. I said I'd be interested. I went out to the house. I was the only person there. Made a good connection with the person who was clearing the estate, and I just wound up taking boxes and boxes and boxes of stuff over the course of days. In fact, I remember, so this was, I know it was in August, because I remember one day I was actually at the New York State Fair and actually got a phone call back from the lady who said, hey, we found more stuff. Do you want to come back and get more stuff? So I came back from the fair afterwards, went back and cleared out more stuff, and I got everything for a few $100. And I made all that money back with one sale of an LL Rickers wall display piece of some baseball players that sold for like over $300 within about 12 minutes of posting it. So everything since then has been profit. And this is an example. I showed one of these before when I showed the Luke Skywalker one that sold for over $100, and they vary in terms of how much they're going to go for in terms of the what character it is and what condition it is and whether it's punched or unpunched. You see that little white space there right on the top above the S and the T in Star Wars? That means it was punched out. That's where you would hang it on the peg rack. So either it was hung or someone just punched it out, or fell out over time. But if it's unpunched, it will sell for more. So this one was a punch through, but it's a popular character. Obviously, Carrie Fisher's deceased now, and so Princess Leia is pretty popular. People will pay up for her. And the reason people buy these, if you missed my prior video when I talked about this, when I went over the top items that sold in my store last month, people buy these because they try to recreate what the original figure pack looked like. So there was a blister pack, a clear plastic a blister pack that went over that blue spot there, and then the figure went inside of it. So they'll get the blister packs, they'll go and they'll try to get as close of a mint figure as they can. Yes, there's people who try to create scams and put fake figures in there and try and sell it as real, but there are people who are really trying to make legitimate products out of this. And so this one here I have up for $69.99. An offer came in for it right before I came on here, and that offer came in for $63 for a piece of cardboard that I basically got for free. So I'm gonna accept that. There's no point even countering that. That's a great offer right there. So there's $63 on that one. And there's a nice little cha-ching. And let's check the little bell. Oh, look at that. We've got a couple more that came in. So let's go over to this one here. It's the same person, which is great, because if the offer is good, it's going to save me on shipping. And here we got $83 offered for the Chewbacca card. So it's the same thing, just to show it to you here. There's Chewbacca, same kind of card, just different character. It's $83 offer. To me, that's a no-brainer. And I am going to accept that one as well. So there we go. So that's $83 plus $63. All right. Another cha-ching. And I think we have another one here. Let's see what this one is. We've got another one that just came in for R2-D2. So R2-D2, again, for a piece of cardboard from 1977, doesn't even have the figure, folks. It's just a card. Now, this is what I mean, by the way, when I say it's punched. Unpunched. This one is unpunched. So unpunched means that it still has that black tab there. And if I said that wrong before, my apologies. But this is unpunched. So we're going to review this, see what the offer is. And it is a $73 offer. So we're going to accept that as well. So there we go. So just there, in the span of a minute, I just made over $200 on eBay. So tell me again that eBay's dead or that eBay's dying. It's just not. I mean, people are out there willing to spend the money, as that live example just showed you, and as all these other people's videos and Instagram posts are showing you as well. I mean, it's not fake stuff. So let's go into Jamie's store and see if we could come up with anything to help him out. Now, keep in mind that my whole approach on this is to try to be helpful and not to try to sound, mean or, punitive or anything like that. I'm here to help, and I'm here to help Jamie make some more money, and hopefully there's tips that you could pick up on this, and that's what people have told me in the other store reviews that you could use and apply to your own business. So let's go over to Jamie's store. And for those of you who saw my prior reviews, you're going to know what I'm going to say right off the bat, right? No branding beyond the name, which I like the name, Jamie, by the way. In Bargains We Trust is great. That really is an awesome name. It's clever. I like it. It looks good. Okay. The problem is, Jamie, is that this page is screaming out for branding. Screaming. Okay? This right here needs to be a logo that you need to get a logo designed. And again, I have no financial relationship with them, but Fiverr.com, Fiverr.com, they can make you a cheap logo that will look good. It won't look cheap. It'll look professional. I use them for my own business, and you can see here, if I scroll down a bit, you can see here's my Primetime Treasure logo. Okay, so you need to have something related to bargains in there, okay? And then you need to have some kind of banner here as well that explains to people what you do. Have it bargain related. Make some kind of bargain kind of thing, go back and forth. Make sure when you do if you go to Fiverr, that you select unlimited revisions, because you're going to have a need likely to go back and forth and adjust things and fix things, okay? Then get a description. Tell people what it is that In Bargains We Trust do, because I had this issue with a prior review that I did, but when you go down, like initially you might say, okay, this person's a clothing reseller because we see clothes, but then it becomes quickly evident that you're more than that, because now we've got a Thomas the Train toy, okay? So it's a lot of clothes, maybe even mostly clothes, but there's other things. There's other hard goods here. You've got highball glasses, there's Waterford items here. There's all sorts of stuff. There's moisturizing gel. So, there's another Thomas the Train item, jewelry. There's a lot of stuff, okay? So you need to let people know that this is a generalist trade store. You could say you focus in clothes. You could even start off with that. We focus in clothing and fashion, but we also offer deep discounts or good discounts or great deals on lots of other items, okay? Try to keep it as much as possible to one sentence, like I have here: specializing in the sale of comic books, toys, books, pop culture items, clothes, and all things vintage and collectible. And you see here I have examples of things that I have in my store. And what's the first thing you see? It's comic books. And then I have some other vintage stuff as well. Now, you can't capture everything in there, but capture the main things to give people an idea, and then they could see in your description. Now, good thing is Jamie's got 100% feedback here, so that's good. That'll give people some confidence. But definitely you need to work on the branding. And so I'm going to go again to this side part here, okay? Now, in the prior review I went to, or one of the prior reviews, there was nothing fleshed out here at all in terms of categories. Now, Jamie's taken a stab at it. He put men, women's, and other. So when I see that, I think a couple things. I think, number one, all this person sells is clothes, because it's just broken into men and women's, and that's mostly what you would think of. What would be broken down into men and women's is clothes. That says other. I don't know what that means, other. And in fact, it's not even, I could click on all. Other I can't even click on. So I don't even think that was, I think that was just an automated, that's just an automated thing that eBay put there. So all Jamie really put is men's and women's. That's it. First of all, I capitalize the M in men, capitalize the W in women's, but you need to flesh this out more, okay? So you need to have one category that says clothing, and then below that, you need to break it down into different brackets. Like if you go over here to my store, you're going to see here that I have a section on clothes. So call it clothes. And then you click on that. And within that, there will be subcategories. So you could see here we have hats and caps, jackets, shirts and sweaters. And you see everything's capitalized. You want to have a nice, clean, and consistent look. And capitalization looks more professional. And that is a key theme, okay? We're going to talk about this when we go through the photos, but you want things to look as professional as possible in terms of just the overall general appearance of your store. So let's switch over to some of the photos, because I think that is really a big issue here. Photos are important. Now, that doesn't mean that there's problems with all of the photos. In fact, Jamie, I would tell you, I think that you did a really nice job with this photo here. You got a nice white background and you laid the shoes down really nice. And I think that's a good look. It's a nice contrast and stuff. But a lot of them I look at, they don't all look like that. And you want to have a consistent look. Like you could see here on this one, you know, it looks kind of wrinkly, and more than that, you know, it's kind of cut off like on this horizontal slant. So it gives me the impression when I see that this photo was rushed, that it was done quickly, quick snap of the photo, boom, and just put it up really fast. Now that might not have been what happened, but sometimes that doesn't matter. What matters is the perception that the customer is going to have. Another example would be here. Now, if you look here at this shirt, it's hard for me to even really see it, because it's kind of shrunken into the background there. There's a glow coming off the top, and it's uneven. You know, you could see it's on a diagonal. You need to take some more time with editing the photos and get this nice and straight. So let me show you an example through my store of a shirt on some ideas of things that you could do. Okay, so, well, this is a coat, but same difference. Okay, you could see how it's cropped nice and close in like this. So, you know, we don't have a bunch of wasted space around it, okay? You know, you could quickly and easily tell what it is. And if you're dealing with a t-shirt and you have some kind of prominent logo that you want someone to pay attention to. So on this one, we have this CKJ. Is this? Oh, Calvin Klein. Okay. So for Calvin Klein, you want someone to see that. What I would suggest sometimes, depends on the shirt, but do something like this. So you see this, you don't always have to show the full shirt in the initial picture. People are going to know that when they see the title that it's a shirt. But look at this right here, right? If someone's just scrolling through the thumbnails, someone could quickly tell this is a Superman shirt and this is a Culotta shirt. Now in this one, I didn't feel the need to do that. And I just put a broader picture because I just felt on that one that I was still getting an adequate picture of the main image here. So I thought it still came through fine. This one, like as you'll see with the Superman one, as I click onto it here, and we go over into the next picture. The thing is that this shirt is a little bit faded, okay? And I didn't want to emphasize that on my first picture. The first picture is the one you always want to have the most value to bring somebody in. So I really wanted to just bring someone in off of this, and felt, you know what, if they're interested enough in this thumbnail, maybe they'll overlook some of the fading, versus if they see the fading first, they might say, yeah, I'll just kind of go by that one, okay? So there's that psychology sometimes in that first image. And again, you know, if you really can make it clear off this thumbnail, you know, what it is that's, you know, that your item is all about, then, you know, consider that. Because again, if it's too small and too shrunken in the background, it's going to be difficult for someone to see it, and they're going to scroll through it pretty easily. So that's an issue. And also straightness matters. And so do things like having distractions in the background. Like you could see that light switch there. People want to feel like when they're making a purchase, even though they may know that this could be someone who's selling out of their home or something, they may know that as a possibility in the background, but they don't want to see it really. Okay, so let's go back to my Superman shirt as an example. Okay, so that's the end product in terms of what I wound up putting up. But the raw original photo that I took looked like this. Okay, now I wound up cropping, and you could see here with my setup that when I crop, I'm going to get some of that doorknob in there usually, and I don't want that doorknob in there. So it's a very simple solution. Doorknobs, light switches, just go select a piece of the paneling or the wall that's right above it, just copy it like that, and then just go over your doorknob like that, and just edit, paste, and there we go. Doorknob's gone. And this way, when we crop the image out like this, we leave a little bit of a margin around it. We're good to go, and we don't have anything distracting in the background. Now, the other thing is that you see here, I'm using a wooden hanger. Wooden hangers look much more professional than plastic hangers, okay? Plastic hangers or wire hangers wind up looking cheap. That's why dry cleaners use metal hangers when they drop them off to you, because they're not expensive. What's the most expensive type of hanger that's out there? Well, it's going to be a wood hanger. Now, maybe you don't have wood hangers, okay, but that should be a goal to invest in. You have to use the plastic ones for now or the metal ones, fine. But eventually, you need to build up. You just need to get one wood hanger. And by the way, I see wood hangers all the time at estate sales for next to nothing. So there's really no excuse not to go out and get a wood hanger to help you with your staging. Or, go and get a mannequin. So here's my mannequin, Cha-Cha in the house. Give a shout out to Cha-Cha in the comments. She hasn't been seen in quite a while, but here she is showing off her stuff there, okay? So, I thought that really displayed nice. Now, I tried this one on a hanger, but it didn't look good. So you have to have, that's another thing, you have to have different options on how you're going to display different things. Now, let me go back here. A couple other things with photos. Okay, now, I don't think you always have to have a white background. I don't. It's preferred. I think a wood background works well too, depending on what the items are. Okay, so like I think here that a wood background looks fine. You could do a white background on it as well. There is a place for black backgrounds, but that really tends to be for white items or really, really light items. I would not suggest a black background for something like jeans or a brown background that's non-wood. Wood, now again, you might say, what's the difference? They're both brown. Wood is looked at as professional. Wood framing, okay? Think about that. Woodwork. People buy, crafts from artisans that are made out of wood, okay? But, people see like, kind of a fabric-y background that's not like clear white, and they start to think that it might be a couch or something like that. And there's, here we go. Here's a perfect example, okay? This one, clearly it's on a couch. You don't want to stage things like you just threw it on your couch, because while you might look at just one of these things and say, oh, that's not a big deal. Oh, that's not a big deal. That's not a big deal. Enough of these things, depending on the buyer, could be enough to just turn them off. Even though you have 100% feedback, the impression someone could build up is because people are going to make inferences based on what they see. And they might say, all right, well, I've been to a bunch of other stores. The person's going to be like, no logo, no banner, no description, 2 categories here. And just, some things look crooked, some things are shrunken down, some things just look like they're put on the couch. And again, I emphasize, this is not to be mean, this is to be helpful, okay? I'm trying to help people out there who are struggling with slow sales to think like the buyer is going to think, because this is how people are going to think. And they're going to say, well, you know what? If this is how the person does this aspect of the business, they might say to themselves, how's the person going to ship my item? How's the person going to pack my item? Are they going to get my item out on time? That sort of thing. Now, the 100% feedback does alleviate that to some degree, but not everyone always looks at the feedback. And sometimes they just look at the images, they get an overall feeling. Sometimes people go off feeling, okay? Just like a perception. And it's like, something doesn't feel right. They're just going to move off of it. So, that's something important here. Now, like I said, I liked how these shoes were displayed here, but if we go down to some other things, one of the things that I would suggest is don't cut your product off. Okay, so this is what I mean by that. Look at the shoes here. Okay, we have them cut off. Okay, I can't see what's going on to the right side of that shoe there. Now, yeah, I could go to other pictures and look at it, but then in the background there, I've got the same issue. Now I've got this part of the shoe that's cut off. And then I go over here, I got this part of the shoe that's cut off. Have the whole item in view for the person. Again, someone's going to think you didn't take the time to focus it, you didn't take the time to stage it. I could see that there's things in the background here, so I could tell it's on a couch again. These are all things that you want to fix. Every single one of these, and you're just going to have to go through all the items and just try to, over time, make these types of adjustments. Now, while the bed sheet over here worked well, and I talked about this on the Garment Broker page, and she used a really, really nice linen to give the effect of things on the sheets. It really worked well on that first picture. But if you go over here and we look at these shoes, and you got to get these right because shoes is a main thing that looks like you're selling here, Jamie. When I look at this thumbnail, at first I didn't even know what the heck that white thing on the bottom was. I could tell now that it's the bottom of the shoe, but it just seemed odd to me, and I was actually focusing more on wondering, like I literally was wondering, I was like, what is that thing on the bottom? Now, me as a neuropsychologist, I looked down at that and it kind of looked like a brain. It kind of had the structure of I knew it wasn't a real brain, of course. I know we're not this is not Hannibal Lecter's eBay page, but still, it kind of, that's what my mind went to. And someone else might think something else. Is that like a white football or something? Like, I don't know. It just looks strange to me. And then I'm focusing more on that as opposed to the shoe. My mind should be focusing on the shoe. And we don't want to have these wrinkles in the background. And if you're going to use a sheet, make sure that your sheet is nice and taut, nice and tight. So it's not showing those wrinkles and those creases and those lumps and that type of stuff. So get rid of that distracting stuff. Let me go down a little more here. Let's see here. And we're going to get to this shirt in just a moment because we're going to talk about pricing. There was another pair of shoes that I saw. They were a camo pair of shoes that you took a picture of, Jamie. And I looked at it before. I don't see it coming up now, but I thought you did a good job with the way that you laid that out. I just don't see it right now. But regardless, some of the shoe pictures are, like this one here. I thought you did a pretty good job on this one here. This one looks good. Look at that. That's a nice picture. Okay, so consistency, man. Consistency is what you want to get towards. Like, all your pictures should look like some variation of this. Now, that doesn't mean they all have to be laid out like that. So you've got those laid out like that. Look at that. That is drastically different from how you did some of these other shoes that I showed earlier. I mean, it's much different than this one. It's much different than this one here where they're thrown on the couch. So really, really pay attention to staging and to photography, part of staging, and also, marketing and just branding. Branding is real, real important. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. That's a topic that has come up. It came up in the Mile High series when I talked to Chuck Rosansky. If you didn't check out that video series, you've got to check that out. 9-part series. It has its own playlist. You got to check it out. But I also talked about this recently with Don, the auction professor, when I was on his channel. We were talking about branding. And so it's important in relation to price. And I'm just going to give one example, and then we're going to wrap things up. But right here, you could see this shirt that you have for sale. So it's this polo Ralph Lauren Javelin shirt, and you have it for $41, new with tags. Now, there's really not a problem with the photo. I mean, some people do flat lays like this. I'll do them every once in a while. I mean, if we want to be really picky on the bottom, I would try to make that nice and straight and not so there's a little piece peeking out on the bottom, but that's being picky. Overall, I think it's a nice picture, and I don't think that issue on the bottom is going to prevent a sale. But let's go over to, if I do a search for this item, so I'm a customer and I want to find Polo Ralph Lauren Javelin. Okay, now interestingly enough, whose shirt comes up first? Well, Jamie's does. Why? Because Jamie promoted it. But Jamie has 15 watchers on it. And even though it's number one here in terms of sponsored, in terms of promoted listing, it's still there and it hasn't sold. He's got 15 watchers on it. Folks, part of the psychology of eBay is there's a lot of nonverbal communication that goes on between buyers and sellers. And people are hesitant to be the first person to put an offer out there, that sort of thing, or to even make a communication. So people communicate with some other things they do. And one of the things they do is that if you see an accumulation of this many watchers on the item, so 15, this is not all your competition. There's buyers within those 15 watchers. They're telling you they're interested in the item. You know that from the very behavior of them clicking that they want to watch it. But they're telling you they think the price is a little too high or really too high. Now, in this case, I think they just think it's a little bit too high. And I'll show you how I know that. We're going to go over here and we're going to do what I believe a lot of people do. Now, maybe not the majority of people do it, but there's a significant percentage of eBay buyers who sort their items like I'm going to show you right now, from lowest to highest plus shipping. So price plus shipping. And to prove to you that that's how people are doing it, and that must be how a lot of people are doing it, is that if the only issue that mattered here was if they saw it first, this would have sold already. But it hasn't. It's still sitting there at 41. Well, let's go and do what I contend a lot of buyers do, is they sort it this way. And here's what's going to happen. Well, look what happens. We have a competitor with the same shirt who's selling it for $39.97, so right under 40 bucks. And there's more than 5 watchers. I don't know why it says 5 plus. I guess maybe it depends because there's different sizes available. But there's only 1 available and 3 have sold. So this person has been successful in selling this. They only have 1 left. They're probably not going to move their price down because they already have the lowest price. All right, so let's go to next person. Well, we've got 40 bucks. Okay. Well, now look at this. And this is interesting that when we sort it from lowest to highest, Jamie does not come up as number 1 anymore. And even with sponsored, he's below someone who has it for a higher price. Okay, so because Jamie's doing, I don't know, is Jamie doing free shipping? Oh yeah, he's doing free shipping. So here we go. We've got someone $44.98 sponsored above Jamie. We've got the $39.97 one is also sponsored, by the way. And then we've got Jamie's. So look how low. We've got to go down a while before we get to Jamie's item. And this is another reason why things will sit. Now, you could sit here and you could argue, well, I'm just going to keep it at 41 and wait till it sells. Or I'm going to sit there and wait until, I'm going to put it at $45 and wait till it sells. You could do that, but you're going to have a hard time making that sale because, as I've talked about with Chuck Rosansky and as I talked about with Don, the main way that you could be able to do that with keeping your price high is you've got to have a good brand established. So people want to buy from you based on your brand. And the problem here is there's no brand established. Okay, there's 10 followers. So yes, there's a bunch of things listed. There's 793 items. But Jamie reached out to me because despite having 793 items, sales are slow. And it's a trap, and I'm not saying Jamie fell into this trap, but just as a warning, a lot of people fall into the trap that you have to have hundreds and hundreds or thousands of items to do good on eBay. You do not need to do that. Go to my video where I talk about making $10,000 in gross sales in 60 days with less than 100 items. In fact, I at one point had like 140 something items and still hit that number. Okay. Now I'm over that now in terms of items, but at that point I wasn't. So it's a myth that you need to have thousands and thousands of items up. You are not paid by eBay to maintain a catalog for them. Your job is to make sales. So you got to find a way to make those sales. So anyway, here's my solution to this, Jamie, and this is where we're going to end off. I would suggest that you go back at these items, and you got to know, this is why you got to source low. Okay. So I hope that you only have a few bucks invested into this shirt, if that. And if so, here's what you have to tell yourself or think to yourself. Let's say you bought it for $2, or even let's say you bought it for $5. Okay. Is the time having it up for $41 worth this wait? Or would you rather just price this at $38.99 and make the sale? Okay. Now, again, this is the thing that, when I talk to Chuck, he gets frustrated at people who will nickel and dime. But sometimes, depending on what it is that you are selling, and you're selling something where there's a bunch of competition for it, okay? It's not like there's only one or two other ones. There's 51 results that came out for this. So why are people, you have to think, why is somebody going to buy yours if there's other ones out there that are lower in price, and the pictures look good, the condition is good, and the feedback is pretty decent. This person has 99%, over 99% positive feedback. So that's the thing that I would say. That's the thing I would work on. Go through your photos, work on your branding, work on your pricing. Okay. And that's another thing just to point out about this. That is not a big difference. The 41 versus the $38.99. If you can make that sale faster, it's worth it to start clearing inventory out of there. Okay. And you're not losing a lot of money if you sourced it low. You're still going to make over $30 probably in profit, if you sourced it decently. So that's my summary, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure that you hit the bell icon over here for notifications. I will be doing a solo live show this week. So if you want to stop by and say hello, that's Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's just a random show. We're going to have just random conversations. So if you have questions you want to come by and ask me, come by and bring it over in the chat. I look forward to seeing you there. Remember, links are down below. You can see Jamie's store. You can see my eBay store. And you can go to Facebook group and my Instagram account at prime_time_treasure. See you back at the next video, everyone. Take care.